Alright, what is going on, you guys, and welcome back to the channel. So, as you guys know, the latest update in Fortnite, the one where they added the advanced controller settings and they completely changed aim assist as well in Fortnite. We all know that they sort of like got rid of L2 spam, and so you can no longer L2 spam and kind of lock onto your opponents, as some people described it as. And we all know that that's kind of been removed, and you can no longer do that. So, as you guys know, I already made a few videos on this talking about the advanced settings. This is what I'm currently using. So if you saw my video before talking about the best controller settings, I've gone through all these settings, and this is what I'm currently using for my advanced settings. And with these settings on, this is when the aim assist kind of focuses on your tracking, but not so much locking onto players. So with the advanced settings, as we know, it's really good for sort of like tracking players. So as you can see, I've got a player here, well, a bot. So as you see, if I track the player now, see it slows down, so like it's really fast. Then it slows down and kind of like tracks the player. If I like move slower as well, see how it moves really slow then? Look how it moves so much slower when I'm actually on the opponent. But if I actually go to aim, so now my accuracy is a bit off, and I'm trying to shoot my opponent and they're standing still, and I aim here, as you see, it no longer locks onto the opponent. I spam L2, and it said in the patch notes, they nerfed aim assist, so you can no longer L2 spam. My aim is a bit off, and it's not locking onto the player. Even if I'm really close to it, it just doesn't lock on anymore. And that's because, as I said, they nerfed aim assist. Same with all the guns, it's just like that. But if you turn on legacy settings, which I think most people actually do have this, but I know a lot of people like to play the advanced settings, like myself as well. I'm still kind of figuring out what's the best. If you go on legacy look controls and turn this on, and click apply, it will actually now lock on to your opponent. So look, my aim is a bit off. Previously, it would just aim in, and you'd when you ADS, it just aim in exactly where I aim in. But now you can see my player. If I aim down sight, it locks onto the opponent. Even if I'm a bit off, it's locking onto the player. See, I'm really far off there. Look how far off I am from the reticle. Nowhere near him. Click L2, and it just locks onto the opponent. Same with shotgun. It locks on. It won't work that far away, but around there. I'm really far away from the opponent. Won't work there. Maybe around here. There we go. So it's around there. You can be this far off from aiming, and your accuracy can be this far off, but it'll still lock onto the opponent. So technically, aim assist has not really been nerfed, and it's still kind of in the game. You should need to turn on these new legacy look controls for you to actually be able to lock onto the opponent. You can see I'm really far off, and it's still aiming on. If I aim here and I shoot, 6 damage. I spam L2, 30. You see the difference? So it definitely makes a difference, and it kind of proves that aim assist is still in the game, and you can still sort of L2 spam. Whereas the other one, if I go to settings again and turn this off, which is where it was originally on, you see it doesn't really, you can't really lock onto the opponent. It's a lot harder to track the opponent in terms of this, but if you're like tracking opponents gliding, for example, it probably is a bit easier. But I mean, which one would you prefer? Be able to track players or be able to lock on for players? I think I know which one I'd rather, but I'm going to go more in depth to this now, especially with shotgun aim and talking about tracking players with that as well. So you may be able to track players better with the advanced settings with hipfire shotgun aim, and I'll talk about that more later on in the video. But in terms of actually sort of like, as you say, lock on to your opponent, you could say, and trying to like have better accuracy overall, it's probably best off using the legacy settings in terms of that. And I think I might actually make the switch to that. If I turn this on, as I talked about, it does lock on, kind of. And this doesn't, say now you're in Team Rumble, for example, that's like the only situation where you're kind of going to be shooting players far away and kind of locking onto them. But if you're actually coming up against a good player in like a solo game or something, you're not going to be shooting up against them. They're going to build, and you're going to get into like a box fight with them most likely, and you're not just going to be standing there shooting at them whilst they just run. They're going to be building, and you want to get different angles on them. And this is why this the legacy control settings is probably better for this. As I said, with the locking onto opponent is better than the tracking opponent. So I'll demonstrate this now. So as I said, this is the tracking one, because I've got these settings, and I have this I have the legacy look controls on. So you see it locks on. If I go into this build fight, you're building up in your opponent, it's much easier to like kind of lock onto your opponent. You see your opponent down low, he's shooting at me, like I've already locked onto him because of this aim assist. I'm here again. Look, already locked onto his head. Easy. I could just. I'm not really, encouraging to L2 spam, but I'm just saying it's better to sort of have, in terms of these fights, it makes your aim and accuracy a lot better. To sort of like get different angles on your opponent. So I'm going to demonstrate this again. So because as I said, this is going to be a lot more important because when you're coming up against good players who are going to be building, and you're going to be doing a lot of box fights, you're going to be able to have different angles on them and be able to get these shots off and kind of like lock onto them a bit easier from the start of the fight instead of just tracking them, which you're not going to be doing anymore because players aren't going to be running unless they're gliding. That may be one benefit, but in terms of these fights, it's much more beneficial. You don't really get much benefit from the advanced settings in terms of the actual locking onto players, because that's where the aim assist has sort of been nerfed. So I'll show this again. You're kind of in a build fight. You're building up. I don't know why I can't build right now. You're building up. Look, and you can just lock onto your opponent a lot easier. Show this again. Building up. Look, already locked on. See, I just tapped L2. My aim wasn't perfectly on him, but it sort of like adjusted onto him, as you can see there. See, perfectly on. So if I turn this off, obviously it does rely on your aim, kind of mainly. If I turn this off, it's gonna be a lot easier to sort of like get that first shot. See, you got like my aim's there. That's where I aimed in originally, but before the old one, with the settings I just showed you, with the legacy settings, it would lock on here, and I'd just be able to get that easy first couple shots. But in this situation where I just shot in, and I built up, my aim wasn't exactly on, and it didn't lock on like it would before. So this is why I'm probably gonna start using the legacy look controls. Because with the legacy look controls on, as I said many times before, it locks on. As you can see here, look, locks onto my opponent. Previously, my aim wasn't right on him, and I would have missed my shot there. So I think I'm gonna start getting used to the legacy controls more, and I probably recommend you use legacy as well, because they haven't even nerfed L2. You can just turn this on, and it kind of reduces the aim. So yeah, it's a really good benefit. But the one thing I would say is, in terms of the advanced settings, if I go to turn them back off, and I'm using the advanced settings, I'd say one thing in terms of tracking, it's probably better with hip fire shots. So I'll demonstrate this more now. So as you guys can see, I'm in the combined game mode. This is where you're obviously going to like practice your aim. So as I said, the main benefit with the new settings and the new aim is tracking players. That's kind of what Epic kind of wanted to do, was kind of encourage players to be better at tracking instead of relying on L2 spamming to kind of lock onto the opponents. But with tracking players, which is what they've kind of added with the advanced settings, as I just said, it's the main benefit of it. As you guys can see, this player's jumping. I'm barely moving my my left stick on my right stick, and as you can see, I'm tracking the player pretty well whilst he's jumping, and I'm barely putting any effort into actually moving my analog stick. But this is mainly beneficial for like box fights, tracking your players with hip fire shots with a shotgun. But that's not what you want to do. What you want to do is, you want to box fight your opponent. Season 10, you need to sort of like have your box fight. You want to box them in, edit, and get some easier shots on them. And this is why I said, if you go to your settings and turn this setting on, this is where I'm on about with the locking onto players. As you see, it kind of locks on, even if I'm just off, it kind of locks onto my opponent. And as I said, that is with the legacy controls on, and I'm using the old settings, the old aim assist. And it's basically just like how it was with the aim and the L2 spamming. It's kind of still in the game, you just need to kind of use it correctly. So as I said, it's much better. The tracking was good, but with these settings, the legacy controls on, these are the box fights you want to do more, because you're not going to be just tracking players, you're going to be doing box fights, especially when you come up against good players. So as I said, you want to be into these fights, editing, shooting your players and locking onto them. As you can see, you want to edit, shoot them, and just take peek shots. And this is why you don't really need to worry about tracking players, because you're not going to have those sort of fights anymore. As I said, especially when you come up against good players, because you're going to take in box fights, you're going to edit, take peek shots, and this is why it's important that you can get that first shot off and lock onto your opponent, and that's why you should probably use these new legacy controls on, so you can use your old settings, as I said. So yeah, that's kind of what it's all about. It's just getting that first shot and kind of locking onto your opponent. As I said, I don't really encourage L2 spam and then just relying on L2 spam to kind of track your opponent. You should just mainly, you know, use it for these situations and these box fights to get that first shot off and kind of just hit your shots more often. It's going to make it a lot easier for yourself, and it's going to make it a lot easier for these box fights, as I said. So if you're editing, I can always get that first shot off, and I can just tap L2 and it just locks onto them, as you can see. Kind of locks on. See, it makes it a lot easier, so you can get those shots off in the box fights. And yeah, basically the aim assist and the L2 spam isn't really gone if you just use the legacy controls, which is, as I said, your old settings. And yeah, L2 spam is kind of still in the game. Obviously it's not the same as it used to be, but I'd recommend turning it on and using these old settings and the old aim assist, because it's just because of the fights you're going to be taking. You're not going to be relying on just shooting players far away. They're going to be building. You're going to be getting into box fights because, you know, there's a lot more sweats in the game now. And yeah, those are the fights you're going to be taking, and that's the sensitivity settings I would recommend you use. Hopefully you guys found this video useful. Make sure to drop a like on it if you did find it helpful. And of course subscribe if you guys are new, turn on post notifications, and make sure you guys follow all my socials as well, links are in the description. Yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video, and yeah, I'm out. Peace.